So other than the 5-second rule, there is one habit that I have adopted in the last 3 years that has fundamentally changed me as a business person. And it has also changed my ability to manage my emotions so I don't get hijacked. I do not allow my phone in the bedroom. I know the research. Deloitte just did a study based on phone use alone, and 33% of people are reading emails in the middle of the night. I know that if you go to bed and the phone is right next to you, right? So you go to bed because you need your phone. You know, somebody might need you, and you sleep. You know, if this is right here and it's not closed and the blue light is on, they've done studies where they have people at a table and the researcher will put their phone on the table, not even my phone, the researcher's phone, and the brain lights up like crazy, just with the presence of a phone. The research around the phone and sleep is so stunning that if you were to adopt one radical thing today other than the 5-second rule, try putting your phone outside your bedroom, turn off the bzz, 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 so you don't hear it. Tell people who need to reach you to call you. My kids, I have a kid in college, a kid who's, high school, kid in middle school. If there's an emergency, call me. There is nothing happening on your phone at 2 o'clock in the morning that's important. But if you allow yourself to become a tool of this is supposed to be your tool for selling, your tool for communicating, and we're all becoming the tool. Here's the other thing, common sense-wise, that I want you to understand. You wake up, the alarm goes off. What do? Whoop! So you're not even vertical, and you're reading emails. And what is in these emails? Other people's crap. If you don't have boundaries with this puppy, it's going to impact sleep, it's going to impact how much money you make, it's going to impact how much self-control you have. And so when I put this thing outside the bedroom and I wake up, I walk over to where the phone is, it's plugged into my bathroom, I turn it off, I don't look at it yet. I give myself 5 minutes. 5 minutes before I tune into the world to actually tune in up here and say, what's the one thing I'm going to get done today that really matters to me? If you're the kind of person that feels like you don't have control over your day, that your day gets hijacked, that you can't get to the priorities, that you're always behind the ball, this one planning thing will change your life. No phone in the bedroom, turn it off when the alarm goes off, 5 minutes, 5 lousy minutes, 5 lousy minutes before you tune into the rest of the world. And if you've got the kind of job where you've got to check it, get up 10 minutes earlier. You have control over this stuff, and it is so important that you take it seriously now because you're living at the slowest moment of your entire life.
I'm on a mission to get every human being in the world to add one simple thing to their morning routine. And it is called the high five habit. And here's what it is. Every morning after you brush your teeth and you get that gunk out of your mouth so you're not spreading that nasty breath everywhere, okay? I want you to take a moment, put your toothbrush down, and look at the human being in the mirror. That's not your reflection. That is a human being who needs you. A human being who's beaten down, who feels forgotten, who is so sick and tired of your criticism. And I want you to just stand there and look at them and take a moment because the rest of your day is going to be about everybody else. And then I don't want you to say a thing. This is the genius of this habit. You can be on your lowest morning, which I was when I, again, divine intervention or stupidity. You can be the judge, right? It was April 2020, and I was having a moment in my life where I just felt overwhelmed by life. I was waking up, the anxiety had come back. I felt like life was unfair. I had lost my dream job. We were in the middle of the pandemic. My kids were in a state of huge grief and anger and frustration because university, had closed and, now they're dealing with it. I had a bunch of like all of a sudden my business is imploding. And, don't forget, just over 10 years ago, I was in a crisis financially where my husband and I were about to lose we couldn't even pay for groceries. My dad was lending us money.
Yeah.
And so it was triggering all of that. And I was thinking this, like, I've worked so hard. I'm a good person. Like, how could you be doing this to me? Like, I don't deserve, like, just.
And you were pretty successful at that point already, right?
God, successful. I was the number one female motivational speaker in the world. I had a daytime syndicated talk show in the United States, so 175 shows a year, giving advice. I, had the 5-second rule book, which was self-published and a huge millions of copies sold.
But I think that's the powerful thing about this story. Even with all that success, you were still racked with self-doubt and anxiety and negative thoughts.
Because I hadn't had the biggest breakthrough of my entire life yet. And I had it one morning in April of 2020. You see, the 5-second rule is extraordinary, but it doesn't address what I believe is everybody's fundamental issue. And everybody's fundamental issue is that you either hate yourself or you do nothing but judge yourself. And this habit of relentless self-criticism and relentless self-rejection is the reason why you're unhappy. It's the reason why you're never satisfied. It's the reason why you can't take a compliment and why you're uncomfortable feeling celebrated. And it all comes down to the fact that when you stand in front of the mirror every single morning, you have this really subtle way that's not so subtle of starting your day by rejecting yourself. And I'm going to unpack this because it's unbelievably powerful when you start to truly understand this. Because if you can't look in the mirror and authentically see a human being that you respect, that you encourage, that you like, that you're cheering for, I'm going to even leave love off the table because I think that is so unattainable for where people are right now. Let's just go with, can you accept yourself? Can you like yourself? Can you see a person that's worthy of support, worthy of your encouragement? Can we just start with that baseline? Because for my research, the average person cannot. From my research, 50% of men and women do not or cannot look at themselves in the mirror because they are either disgusted by the person they see or they are disappointed by them. And for those of us that can look in the mirror, we're still rejecting ourselves because we focus on what we don't like, or we start to mindlessly think about all the things that we haven't done right or that we didn't do yet. You know, on this particular morning, April 2020, I'm overwhelmed by my life. I drag myself into the bathroom. I immediately see my reflection and I'm like, ugh, God, you look like hell. I start ticking off all the things, the saggy neck, one boob lower than the other, like, you know, how exhausted I look, the gray hair coming in, how old I'm starting to seem. Yeah. And then the mind, once it goes negative, keeps going in that direction unless you're 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not thinking about that. But so my mind's like going down the drain. I'm like, why'd I get up so late? I got a Zoom call in 8 minutes. God, you didn't even, text him back yet. And the dog still needs to be. And I'm like, the beat down, the boom, boom, boom starts. And, I don't know what came over me. But that morning standing there, could not think of a thing to say. And here's the important part. When you feel like shit, when you're overwhelmed by your life, you're not going to believe a pep talk anyway. Because it doesn't match how you feel. And so for whatever reason, I literally just raised my hand and I high-fived the woman that I saw in the mirror because she looked like she needed a high five. She looked like she needed somebody to say, it's going to be okay. You can do this. Get out there. And, from that very first one, it wasn't like lightning came crashing through the ceiling and, stuck me in the head. That's not what happened. But there's definitely a switch inside each and every one of us.
Yeah.
So, think about the walls here.
Yeah.
Even when the lights are off, there's electricity in these walls. Even during your worst moments, there is vitality ripping through your veins. There is an electrical life force within you. And life can turn that switch off, but it's still there. There was something about this high five action that felt like a flip, like the switch flipped on, and all of a sudden the energy could connect back and something inside me turned on. Now, that first morning, I didn't go, yeah, like that's not what happened. I just felt this sort of shift to, all right, you got a roof over your head, you know, your family's healthy,
Yeah.
you've saved money. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Get out there. Like, I didn't even think those things. It was more like the electricity, the energy in me, this vitality kind of kicked in. But it was the second morning where the profound nature of what I was stepping into really kicked in. So I wake up, anxiety, ankles right up the legs, feel like the rush of, oh God, something's wrong. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I get out of bed. I start walking to the bathroom. And it's as I'm walking to the bathroom, I'm not even in there yet, that I feel something I have never felt in my entire adult life. And it's this. You know, when you're about to go to a cafe and you're going to meet somebody you're really excited to meet, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody you really love, you know, you're going to see them.
Yeah.
What do you feel right as you're about to walk in the cafe?
You're excited. You're upbeat. You know, you're anticipating something good happening.
Yeah. I actually realized I was feeling that way about seeing myself.
Yeah.
Now, I'm 53 this year. I don't think until that morning in April 2020, I had ever had an experience as an adult of being excited to see the human being Mel Robbins. I've been excited to see an outfit or a haircut or the way new eyeshadow might look. But the human being? The way our kids, when they're really, really little, just love the sight of themselves? This unconditional support and celebration that's hardwired in your DNA when you're born?
Yeah.
And so as I rounded the corner that second morning, that's when the profound nature of this started to really hit me. And I stood there and I stared at the woman in the mirror. And I realized I don't think I've ever asked myself the question, what does she need from me today? I've never joined in partnership with myself. I have been so busy trying to get shit done, trying to make sure people like me, trying to make sure the bills are paid, trying to make sure everybody else is okay, trying to do all this stuff that is the stuff of our lives, that I have forgotten about the most important person, and that is myself. And again, I'm going to go back to a point that you know, we have been talking about kind of in various ways, which is we all know that we're supposed to love ourselves. We all know that we're supposed to be kind to ourselves. You can read a quote on Instagram. You should talk to yourself like your best friend. The problem is how. You know, you read a quote like that, you're like, no shit, Sherlock. How do I do it? I mean, like, what? Seriously? Right? How do you do that? I don't know. I've been beating the shit out of myself for years. How do I stop doing it? I don't know. And, you know, here's the thing. Like, logically, we know it's stupid because if beating yourself up, being hard on yourself, rejecting yourself, trashing yourself, if it actually worked, we'd all be millionaires. We'd have rock star bodies. We'd have the best marriages on the planet. We'd never have to work a day in our life. We'd be on a beach somewhere. Like, it would work.
Yeah.
But instead, we have these patterns of thinking and small patterns of behavior, like not looking in the mirror at yourself is a form of rejecting yourself. Picking yourself apart is a habit of rejecting yourself. And so when you start your day like that, which you do, and then you go out into the world having rejected your very being, this is the reason why you are so thirsty for everybody else's validation. This is the reason why you are seeking your worth in the money that you make, in the car that you drive, in the downloads that you get, in the likes that you have, in the neighborhood that you live in. You think your worth is outside of you. And I'm here to tell you the secret to your fucking life is grab that worth and bring it back home. Start practicing a physical habit, an action that demonstrates to your brain that you respect yourself, that you believe that you're worthy, that you deserve forgiveness, that you deserve encouragement, that you believe in you. And as you start to practice the physical action, the universal symbol for I got you, I love you, I celebrate you, I see you, I believe in you. When you practice this physical action, the Neuro Association that is already in your brain with the high five to yourself in the mirror takes over. It's insane how this works. The science is mind-blowing. I think this is 1,000 times more powerful than the high five habit because it cuts down to the core of who you are.
You think it's more powerful than the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 habit?
Hell yes, I do. Hell yes, because the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a tool that will push you to take action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a tool you use to cut off the worries that trigger anxiety. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a tool that you use to create a moment of objectivity and control when you're normally triggered so you can consciously choose a different response.
Yeah.
The high five habit goes all the way down to the core of who you are and how you treat yourself. And when you become a human being who has compassion for yourself, who likes you, it won't matter what happens out there.
Yeah.
Because everything in here is healed and taken care of. And so, somebody can say to me, I don't love you anymore. I don't like you. It'll sting, but it doesn't change the fact that I still like myself. Because I practice and demonstrate it. That's the difference.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the hidden magic in the high five habit is, because I've been trying it the last few days, right?
And what did you experience?
It is powerful because...
Well, walk us through. Like you're standing at your bathroom sink. Yeah, and walk us through your experience.
Well, first of all, you have to take a pause from your life. Whatever you were going to do, it requires an intentional pause to go, no, I'm going to now do this action for myself. And I've got to say, before I tell you how it went, I think it would have been very different for me a few years ago because I feel self-compassion, not seeking your worth from outside, from other people, from download numbers, likes, what people say about you, which was a huge part of my life. Mm-hmm. I feel that having put a lot of that to bed now and really feeling that I actually like the person I see in the mirror these days. So I kind of feel 5 years ago, I would have had a different experience with it, but it was still powerful because you are just looking at yourself and you're putting your hand on the mirror. And I think what it is, it's just that pause, that moment of seeing me. Like you are seeing yourself. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know, obviously as a guy, what do? We're often looking in the mirror. We might be looking at our beard as we're shaving, right? Yeah. But you're not looking at your eyes, right? You're just looking at, I need to shave. I missed a bit here. Let me get rid of that. And then you crack on, right? Or you look at your face and your hair, but you're not really looking at yourself.
Right.
You're seeing your silhouette. You are seeing yourself, but you're not seeing yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what I think was really powerful, was that it's just another, I feel it's just another tool now, which is going to take me all of 2 seconds, if that's 5 seconds tops. It's not as if I don't have time to add that in. There's no harm in adding it in. And frankly, I like adding it in. It makes me feel good. It's like, and I think it's what you say, it's the action.
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything if you're not in the mood to say anything.
I don't want you to say anything, actually. And the reason why is the Neuro Association. So...
what do you mean by that?
Well, here's what I mean by that. So when you high-five someone else, what does the action of a high-five communicate?
It's just a universal symbol of... you got this. I see you. You're great. We can do this. It depends on the situation, but it's a good feeling. It's a mutual sort of validation type experience.
Tell me about the London Marathon and getting high fives.
Oh, I mean,
what did a stranger's high five mean to you?
It just gave you, and that's the key. It's strangers, right? You don't know them, and they're looking at you, and you're looking at them. Or maybe you're not even looking at them. You just went through. You give a high five. It's like you've taken a shot of feel goods. It's validation. It's like, hey, you know what? We're in this together. You're standing at the side cheering. I'm running, but at that moment, it was like common humanity. It was like there was no animosity, and actually. It's kind of one of my big learnings from the London Marathon actually was, and it relates to this, I think, is that that's kind of who we are. Like in what is considered a very divided world at the moment, I went and did the London Marathon, and all I saw was love, strangers giving love to other people that they didn't know, right? And how did they give that love? Through cheering, but more often than not, with a high five.
Correct. It is a universal symbol of encouragement, of love, of celebration. And the Neuro Association, whether you live in a culture where you've been high-fived or not, the Neuro Association is still there because you have seen them in sport.
Yeah.
You've seen them in marathons. You've seen teachers give them to kids. So your brain has a lifetime of programming in your subconscious that is triggered by this action. It is neurologically impossible to high-five yourself and think, you're a loser, you failed, I don't like your face. Your brain will not allow you to do it because the Neuro Association is so entrenched. It has only ever meant, I celebrate you, I see you, I got you, keep going, you got this, I'm behind you.
As you say that, Mel, it makes me think of gratitude, because when we are feeling grateful, we can't feel down, we can't feel anxious, we can't feel annoyed with ourselves. And in some ways, this is kind of gratitude for ourselves.
Correct, because the thing about gratitude, which obviously has tremendous, demonstrated, proven benefits in your life, most of us are grateful for things outside of us.
Yeah.
What I'm teaching the world to do is to unlock Neuro Association in your mind and in your nervous system and aim it back at yourself. And use this simple habit to interrupt the critic, to break the default loops in your mind associated with judgment, shame, criticism, hatred for self, and to replace it with a new default setting of seeing yourself the way you see your child, which is love. Yeah. Like my kids do stuff that piss me off all the time. And I can be upset with them or disappointed with them, but I never stop loving them.
Yeah.
And there is something that has happened to each and every one of us that as life's pains and heartaches and disappointments and setbacks sort of stack up, we stop loving ourselves. We start judging ourselves more. We start condemning ourselves more. We start rejecting ourselves more. We start trying to seek somebody else's love and approval in order to fill up this well inside of us that we've been digging because we've been rejecting ourselves. And so, it's so powerful because the action alone is what communicates it. If you're looking at yourself and you raise your hand on your hardest days, what the high five says is not, yeah, I'm amazing. Like, this is not going to turn you into a narcissist. This is grounded in compassion.
Yeah.
This is basically saying, I see you. You're right. This is hard. And you know what? You can do this. And I'm going to be here. And I've got your back. And when you send yourself into your day with that physical action, it leaves an imprint in your mind and spirit. Now, there's a couple reasons why. I don't even write about this part in the book because I didn't know this until I started doing podcasts for the book.
Yeah.
So Dr. Amen told me, who's, one of the leading experts in the brain, that one of the reasons why you feel better when you do it, no matter how terrible of a morning it is because your brain has always given you dopamine when somebody else high fives you.
Yeah.
So these sorts of gestures are rewarded in the brain. So when you simply high five yourself, your brain doesn't distinguish between me high fiving me and me high fiving you. It just sees, oh, I know what that is. Drip, dopamine. Oh, I believe in that person. The second thing that happens is that your body is hardwired for celebratory energy. This is that electricity that's in the walls that has a switch that you can turn on and off. And so, for example, when you cross the finish line of the London Marathon, what do you instinctively do?
High five someone.
Yeah, and raise your hands, right? When your favorite team scores, raise your hands. When you yell surprise at a birthday party, you raise your hands. When you say hello, you raise your arm. When you go to high five somebody, you raise your arms. When you hug somebody, you raise your arms. This is wired through your entire body. And normally we give that celebratory energy to other people or things.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, when you high five yourself, you flip the switch. You flip the switch and give yourself a little bit of that vitality that's coursing through you to help you move into your day.
Yeah, I see it as almost like it is about the high five, but it's not in many ways as well, because it's like if you're going down a road and the high five to yourself sets you off on a different path for the rest of that day compared to had you not done it, right?
1,000% right. So let's just use a great example that everybody can latch onto. Sport.
Yeah.
So if a team is about to play the championship in the league, right?
Yeah.
And they're the underdogs. What is the best way to send the team into that game? Is it to beat them down? Oh, you did a terrible job on the London Marathon. You're going to face plant in New York. Oh my God. And I saw your split times. We're fucked. No, that's not the best way to do it.
But that's what we do to ourselves.
Correct. And so I'm here to say, you don't have to say anything because you're not going to believe it. So we're going to cheat this. We're going to circuit your feelings.
You're bypassing words. It's like when you take like this ridiculous example, but it's like when you take a B12 supplement, but you take it sublingually, so it dissolves. So you bypass having to go into the gut, through the liver, and then you get it straight in.
Correct.
And it's got that feel to me.
1,000%. And so you send yourself into the game of life with that sort of optimism, with that resilience, with that compassion. And, look, some days you're going to laugh. Some days you might cry. People report some days you're going to just feel a little bit better. And some days you're going to high five yourself and laugh out loud from the dopamine and walk into your boss's office and ask for that raise or quit. Because you're going to remember that no matter what, you're going to be okay. You're going to remember that no matter what, you got your own back. You're going to remember that it doesn't matter if nobody says great job at that presentation that you worked on, because you can walk into the bathroom, as people have written to us, having practiced this. Hey, I did a presentation at work. Nobody said a damn word. The old me would have walked into my cube and cried and thought I was getting fired. I knew I did a good job. I walked into the bathroom and high-fived myself. Your kids can stick this in their back pocket. And it's a way to reset yourself when you start going down that negative road. And why is this important? It's important because the high five is not going to remove poverty. It's not going to remove discrimination. It's not going to remove diabetes. It's not going to remove the fact that somebody just said they want to divorce you. It's not going to remove all of the trauma. It doesn't change those things. It changes you.
Yeah.
And it changes your relationship with yourself and your ability to believe that through your actions and your attitude, you can move the needle on those things.
Yeah. I love that last point, Mel, because the similarities between the way you talk about this and the way I've been talking about certain behaviors and 5-minute habits for years, they are so connected. And one of the things I often say, and I want to just acknowledge you for what you just said, it's not going to change your life situation. If you're in poverty, you're still going to be in poverty, but you're going to be a different person. You're going to be better able to face the stresses that are in your life.
Yes.
And I think this is such an important point, right? Because I have said this before on the show, but I always think it's worth reiterating that a lot of people feel that self-help or wellness is the preserve of the wealthy and the middle classes. But actually, habits like this, yes, they'll help someone who's got a ton of money in their bank accounts, because a lot of people like that are racked with self-doubt on the inside as well. But it's also going to help someone who is in poverty, or a single mum who's working 2 jobs and has got 3 kids and is really struggling, that little micro moment each morning where she sees herself in the mirror, she signals to her brain that she is worthy, that actually she's a human being with real feelings, and for all her qualities and all her, all the great things that she's doing, that has power, right?
Oh my God,
it is
amazing
free.
power.
It is free. There's not a single person pretty much who is listening to this or watching this right now who couldn't just either pause or at the end go, all right, I'm convinced, Mel. Like, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah. Well, first of all, don't rush it. Don't rush it. So don't go into the bathroom and slap the mirror and be like, I didn't feel anything. I want you to, again, as you so rightly put, take a minute and just look at yourself, because for most people, that's the hardest part. I mentioned that, I get smarter and I learn so much from every comment and people that write their stories in. And one person, Allison Bird, a friend of mine, who made my ability to explain the depth of this so much deeper, because she said one thing to me when she tried it before the book came out. She said, I think it's working. I feel energized. I said, but what surprised me, Mel? I said, what? She goes, the resistance. I said, the resistance? What are you talking about? She's like, oh, first couple days I did this, I stood in front of that mirror and there was something in me that's like, I couldn't even raise my hand. There was this resistance. And so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so I, of course, put something out. Hey, to the 700,000 people on the newsletter list, anybody trying this and feel any resistance? We write to everybody that's in our little test group. Anybody feel, holy cow. It turns out that most people do not have an immediate positive, oh, I'm doing this reaction. Most people have massive resistance to even trying it. And I want to explain why, because this is extraordinarily sad. And it also is an enormous opportunity for growth, because I believe, based on having 136,000 people go through a 5-day challenge online that we're monitoring in an app from 91 countries and seeing what they're reporting, I know that this takes 5 days to work. 5 days before you have an enormous breakthrough in how you see and relate to yourself. 5 days before the chemical, physiological, neurological, physical, and psychological change starts to go, holy cow, this is crazy. This works like this. And so the resistance comes from self-judgment and self-condemnation. And I'm going to tell you a story to drive this home. For people who stand in the bathroom mirror when they try the high five habit and they feel this resistance in their body, first of all, let me say, it's really normal to think this is weird, because it is, okay? It just sounds so cheesy. For those of us that grew up with Saturday Night Live, you're going to think of Stuart Smiley. I'm nice, people like me, that skit they used to do about the guy who talked to himself in the mirror. You're going to stand there and go, seriously, Dr. Charlie and Mel Robbins, you two have lost your mind. But okay, if it's weird as you do it, that's a sign it's working.
Yeah.
So Dr. Leaf told me, oh, well, that's what it feels like when a new neural pathway is getting plowed. So if it feels weird, good, because we're teaching you to do the opposite of criticizing yourself. Yeah. But the resistance is something else. The resistance is the fact that every morning as you start your day, you drag your entire past into the bathroom with you. And if you're somebody who has experienced trauma or been abused or abandoned or neglected or grew up with chaos and addiction, or you've been the victim of a crime, or you're constantly having to deal with discrimination or violence, all stuff that you're not responsible for. There are a lot of people who take all of that from their past, and when they look at themselves, they see somebody who's damaged. They see somebody who's unworthy. They see somebody who is unlovable because of those things. And what the high five starts to become when you do it is it becomes literally an act of defiance. It becomes an act of strength. It becomes a sign that I'm a survivor. It becomes permission to heal. It becomes this deep sense of feeling and knowing where you are and the fact that you have an extraordinary future despite all of the pain and suffering that you have endured and survived. And then there are people that bring everything they regret, all the shame, all the regret, so the cheating, the lying, the stealing, the hurt you've caused yourself or other people, the missed opportunities. And boy, did I get an unbelievable example of this in my own life. So, I was doing the high five habit myself. And during the early days of the pandemic, my husband had just been diagnosed with depression. And he's a super healthy guy. He is a certified Buddhist meditation instructor. Wow. He leads men's retreats called Soul Degree. He's a yoga instructor. He's wildly involved with our community and with our family. He's a super high functioning guy, but he's just felt heavy. There's been like a cloud there, like a heaviness to him, there's no light between his eyes. And so thankfully, his therapist finally got him to go see a psychopharmacologist and somebody to do the advanced testing. They're like, dude, you have dysthymia. You have really long-term depression. You're lucky you've been doing all this stuff because it's kept you alive. And, I turned to him at one point. I've been doing this for a couple weeks rather. And I'm like, I know I'm not your doctor, and I know I'm not an expert in your mental health, but I really think you should try this high five thing. I really think it's going to help you with this depression. He's like, I'm not high five. It is the stupidest thing. I don't care what you're doing. No. And I'm like, okay, if you won't do it for yourself, would you just do it for me? Would you do it for 5 days? Because we're in the middle of researching this now. And I haven't even shared it with my audience yet. And I'm kind of writing down in my journal what I'm feeling. And I've got a couple people on the team. Would you just do it for me? He's like, all right. So he kind of did the first one, are you happy? Typical spouse thing. So he did it for 5 days. And then I asked him what he thought. And he said, you're on to something really big. And I said, why do you say that? And I had no idea how dark my husband's thoughts were. I had no idea how much he was condemning himself, how much shame he felt. I knew that he was struggling with depression. I had no idea that for the past 7 years, the man who has stood next to me at the bathroom sink next to me would look up at the mirror and see a person that he hated. He saw a person that had failed. He believed that since the restaurant business didn't work and since it left us $800,000 in debt, and that his wife had to go out and make the money, that he was the world's worst father, the world's worst husband, and he has been condemning himself every day for 7 years. And the reason he thought the high five was stupid is because you only high five people you care about. You only high five people who are winning, and he, of all people, didn't deserve it. And for me, I knew that he was struggling with shame around the restaurant business. I knew he was struggling with the amount of debt that we had and the fact that, he had, the investors lost money. For me, I had a totally different experience. I'm like, you guys worked at that for 8 years? You made your investors whole? Hello, entrepreneurship? We wouldn't have the 5-second rule without it. Are you kidding? Woohoo, we're winning. This is amazing. His business partner had the same, he was proud of what they built, proud of how hard they worked. Chris, for whatever reason, that was not his story. Yeah. His story was condemnation, regret, shame. He could only see a failure. And, what was wild about that is, I've for years talked Chris up. I've for years have told him how proud I am of him. He was the CFO of the business as the company was taking off.
Yeah.
Like he owns half of it. Like he's an integral part of everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't see it that way. And that's an important part.
Yeah.
Nobody can heal you. Nobody can change how you talk to yourself. This is an inside job. And so if you relate to how my husband feels, I want you to understand that what Chris said to me was that this high five and pushing through the resistance is an act of forgiveness. It's an act of healing. It's an act of support and compassion that allows you and shows you that you are giving yourself permission to feel good again, that you deserve to be happy, that you deserve and that you can continue to push on and go do better and be better and feel better. And that of all people, you're going to stop judging you.
So Dan was the first person in Take Control that I coached, and he is a super successful guy. He loves what he's doing right now. He is, I think, the world's best phys ed teacher. He's a total pro at it. He loves his students. He's been doing it a long time, but he is starting to panic about the next chapter of his life. He's starting to panic about the fact that, time is ticking and I love what I do, but I'm not sure this is my true calling. How do I figure it out? How do I make sure that I don't wake up at the age of 70 or 80 or 90 and realize that I never actually went for the thing that I really love? And a lot of times going for the thing that you really love doesn't mean quitting your job. It means figuring out how to be more focused and deliberate in your life so that you can start to add in incremental progress every day on inching forward that side hustle, that passion project, that book you've always wanted to write. One of the first takeaways is busyness. And we take a look at the fact that, there are a lot of you that are really busy because you got a lot going on. And then there is the type of busyness that we keep in our lives because by being busy, you convince yourself that you're in control. By being busy, you fill up your life so much that you also have an excuse for never, ever, ever having the time to do the thing that scares you, which is to write the book, start that passion project, work on your side hustle. And so you got to be very careful if you're somebody who feels like you're busy all the time to understand that busyness can become a habit. And busyness can become your biggest excuse. And look, I get it. There are a lot of you that are working shift work. You're trying to make ends meet. You're a single parent. You got 2 different jobs. You're exhausted. You're taking care of parents that, are getting older. And you can't imagine how you would find time in the day. My night routine is very simple. Complete the day and leave no tasks that I have to finish in the morning. It's that's it. And so it's not necessarily that I have a specific order, but there are particular things that I do. Number 1, totally set up the kids. So that means pack their lunches. It means get the backpacks ready if it's school season and get them by the door. It means if there's any forms that need to be filled out or printed or anything else, that they are printed, they are ready to go. So kids are handled. Second thing, I want the kitchen clean. I don't ever want to wake up in the morning and walk in there and see crap that I have to do. I don't want dishes in the sink. I don't want things on the counter. And so I make sure that the kitchen is clean, that the counters are cleared off, and that there is nothing I need to do in the kitchen because it will distract me in the morning. I will feel guilt. I will feel obligated to get that done. Third thing that I do is I tend to set out the stuff for breakfast. And the reason why I do that is because my kids will wake up at various times. And so if I've got that thing set up, I've just bought myself a couple more minutes of quiet in the morning before the parade of children come running down the stairs, starving and wanting breakfast. The other thing that I do is I go to my computer and I print out the day calendar for the day ahead.
And then I take that printout and I take my notebook that has all of my travel and kind of everything that's laid out for the business that I run and my speaking schedule and the stuff related to the kids, and I move it all to the kitchen. Now, why am I doing this? I'm doing this so that when I leave my bedroom in the morning and I walk into the kitchen to have 30 minutes of quiet time for myself, to get focused, to plan my priorities, everything's set. It's all been handled. There's no thinking involved. It's amazing. Then, once that's all handled, I turn off all the lights, I lock the front door. When I walk into my bedroom, the very first thing that I do, I set my alarm, and then I plug my phone in my closet. That is the single most important aspect of my evening routine. One night, Chris had gone to bed. I had been struggling. We still had all the same problems. We still had a lien on the house, still facing bankruptcy, still fighting like crazy. I was still unemployed. They still hadn't figured out like the solution yet for the business. And I was about to turn off the TV, and there on the TV, there was this rocket launching, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is it. I am gonna launch myself out of bed like a rocket ship, like NASA, right here, had launched me out of that bed. And I'm gonna move so fast that I don't think. I'm gonna beat my brain. Now, here's a really interesting point. I talk a lot about your instincts and inner wisdom. And we can get into this a little bit later, but a lot of us talk about the fact that you have a gut feeling. But what all this research that I've done for the book and all the speaking that I do, what I've discovered that's fascinating is actually when you set goals, when you have an intention on something that you want to change about your life, your brain helps you. What it does is it opens up a checklist, and then your brain goes to work trying to remind you of that intention that you set. And it's really important to develop the skill, and I say that word purposefully, the skill of knowing how to hear that inner wisdom and that intention kicking in and leaning into it quickly. So for me, my brain saying, that's it, right there, move as fast as a rocket, Mel. I wanted to change my life. And I think most people that are miserable or that are really like dying to be great and dying to have more, we want to change. We want to live a better life. We want to create more for our families. We want to be happier. The desire is there. Again, it's about how do you go from knowledge to action. So the first thing in this story that's important is realizing that the answer was in me. And my mind was telling me, pay attention. Could have also been the bourbon. I had a couple of Manhattans that night. But anyway, the next morning, the alarm goes off, and I pretended NASA was there. It's the stupidest story. I literally went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I counted out loud, and then I stood up. And I'll never forget standing there in my bedroom. It was dark. It was cold. It was winter in Boston. And for the first time in 3 months, I had beaten my habit of hitting the snooze button. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, wait a minute. Counting backwards? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Well, the next morning I used it again and it worked. The next morning I used it again and it worked. The next morning I used it again and it worked. And then I started to notice something really interesting. There were moments all day long, just like that 5-second moment in bed, where I knew, knowledge, what I should do. And if I didn't move within 5 seconds, my brain would step in and talk me out of it. Every human being has a 5-second window. Might even be shorter for you. You have about a 5-second window in which you can move from idea to action before your brain kicks into full gear and sabotages any change in behavior. Because remember, your brain is wired to stop you from doing things that are uncomfortable or uncertain or scary. It's your job to learn how to move from those ideas that could change everything into acting on them. I gave a speech yesterday in Dallas. After the speech, it was a big audience of people in financial services. A guy dressed to the nines in like one of these super slick suits comes up to me. He says, hey, Mel, really love the 5-second rule.
Do you mind if I give you some feedback? Feedback? Don't you hate getting feedback? And then when people actually preface it by saying, can I give you some feedback? I don't know about you, but literally my butt's like, it just cannot stand it. I immediately go on edge. But here's the thing about feedback. You have to take it. You have to take it. It is critical. Critical. So I want to tell you, number one, what the guy said to me, my reaction, and then I want to give you my philosophy about feedback. Because what the guy said to me was so valuable, and it was also really hard for me to hear. Here I am after the speech. We're surrounded by a big group of people. He walks up to me and says, when it's his turn in the line, can I give you some feedback? I immediately tense up, and this is what he says. Mel, I love the concept of the 5-second rule. Super cool idea. Can't wait to try it. Okay, now comes the punch in the gut. He said, you called it stupid so many times during the speech. It was off-putting. Doesn't that sound terrible, that word? And he said, I could tell that you were doing it on purpose. He's right. In fact, you called it stupid so many times, and yet you have these insanely powerful examples of how people are using it. You came off as defensive. When he said this to me, I literally, you know how you feel like you're shrinking in life, where you're like standing and you're full size, and then all of a sudden somebody says something, you're like, I just want to disappear right now. And the reason why it was such a zinger is he was right. He was absolutely right. You see, I do call the 5-second rule stupid because I'm in front of so many analytical audiences. I'm in front of skeptics all the time. And so I use it as a preemptive way to disappear the biggest pushback on the 5-second rule, which is on its face. It sounds so stupid and so simple. There's no way it could be so powerful. The problem is I've gotten lazy and I say it too much. He's 100% right. And by hearing that feedback, I can make a really simple tweak to my speech. I can call it stupid once or twice in the very beginning, and then I can transition to calling it something that's very simple and powerful. Now that's going to help me reach more people with the 5-second rule. And here's what I want to say about feedback. Feedback is intense to receive. It really is. Because you are exposing yourself to critical opinions. It will make you feel very vulnerable. The way that I handle feedback and process it, I'm very clear about the things that I will receive feedback on, and I'm very clear about the things that I will not receive feedback on. And the reason why is, if you don't listen to any feedback at all, guys, you're never going to improve. You're not going to ever do anything new. So no feedback means nothing new. If you listen to everything that everybody says in terms of feedback, if you allow everybody to weigh in on everything, it's going to become so paralyzing that you will do nothing new. So the key with feedback is knowing yourself and knowing what you actually accept feedback on and knowing what you don't accept.
I want you to start seeing something bigger. I know you're all successful. I'm talking about something really big for your life. And in order to do that, you have to answer this question. What do you really want? Now, I'm not talking about something small. I'm not talking about a little haiku. I'm not talking about renovating your kitchen. I'm not talking about signing on 10 new customers this month. I'm talking about what you really want. You know, 3 years ago, I was a lawyer and a business coach working with private clients and big corporations all over the country. And I came to a seminar, just like this one, a big leadership seminar, and I went there with my husband. We're both business owners, and I went because I wanted to be more successful. And I went because I wanted to make even more money than I already did. And I was sitting exactly where you are. In fact, I was sitting about, 15 rows back, right where that woman with her hand on her thing, like, you? Yeah, she's like, hi. Was sitting, and I was taking notes, and I'm like, okay, I'm here to make more money. And then all of a sudden, she walked on stage. That is Martha Beck. She writes a column for Oprah Winfrey. She travels around the country speaking. She's a best-selling author. And when she walked on stage, I literally stopped listening. Please keep listening to me right now. And it hit me. I said, I want to be doing that. I'm ready for a bigger stage. Like, that's it. And what's so interesting about when you answer that question is that you don't answer it up here. You answer it here. That's how you see something bigger for yourself. You know, you guys are really cute because everybody's like, I don't see it. I don't see anything for myself right now. Now I'm just confused. I thought I knew what I wanted. You know, and now, Mel, I'm not really sure. And right now, the economy is so bad. I mean, it's so bad that even if you're successful, I know sometimes I feel embarrassed talking about my success around some of my friends because I know that they're really struggling. And I get calls every day into the radio show, people saying, oh, I've got this great idea, but I just don't know if it's the right time. And you know what I say to them? I say, yeah, you know, you're right. The recession, it's huge, you should wait. Those dreams, yeah, put them on hold. That's right. Yeah, you should stay in that job you can't stand just a little bit longer. You got college bills to pay. I mean, you know, what you're doing, it's fine. You're busy, right? That guy you're dating, he's good enough for you. But for the people in this room, baloney. You know, that's right. You know exactly what you want. And the only thing that you need to do is to admit it. Now, this may sound weird because I know most of you came in here because you're like, I know what I want. I'm here at Success to try to figure it out. I'm talking about something bigger, much bigger. I'll admit to you what it is that I'm up to. And the truth is, it's embarrassing. Because when you lock on to something way bigger than where you're at, it is downright embarrassing to tell people. Because you're not there yet. But I mean, at this rate, I've already admitted to you that I stalked Martha Beck and that I brought a haiku to the best, lit agent in the country, so I got nothing to lose at this point. So this is what I want. Well, not him. I'm married. I want what he's got. I want 600 radio stations. I want 2 million listeners. And I could certainly deal with the $400 million salary. In fact, if I got it, I'd renovate everybody's kitchen. And, the thing is, though, that's so interesting about this is that I didn't pick him. I mean, I'm not looking to become a cigar-smoking, conservative, political guy that, stirs the pot and makes everybody all mad. I'm the liberal lifestyle gal that's trying to help people out. But what I want to do is I want to use radio to entertain people and help them achieve their dreams. And when I really think about it, he's the one that's in the front. I want to not only reach what he's doing, I want to surpass him. I mean, do you think I like it when my friends come over to my office in Boston at my house and they're like, what is that guy doing on your board? No, it's embarrassing. When you admit the big thing that you're up to, it's embarrassing. I have 40 stations. He's got 600. There's a big gap. So admitting where you want to get to is embarrassing, but you got to do it. Chase what energizes you. Everyone talks about passion, legacy, purpose, blah, 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 blah. The one word to pay attention to is energy.
I love that.
That's it. Let's simplify this.
Okay.
So whatever energizes you, naturally expands you, feels like possibility, is exciting to do. It may be scary, that doesn't matter. It has to do with how it makes you feel.
Right.
When you were in your 20s, money made you feel good. It expanded you. It energized you. Chasing the money, that was the game. That was your passion. That was your There's nothing fucking wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And I particularly want to say that to the women that are watching.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because it is socialized into women not to chase success like that, not to go after the money. And so if what energizes you is amassing wealth, go for it. But and the reason why I say that is because people talk about the word passion or purpose.
Right.
And the truth is, it's not a person, place, or a thing. It's not. It is the feeling of being expanded and energized.
Right.
If you're pursuing your passion, it means that you wake up every day and are energized. Mm-hmm. So instead of trying to think, what's my purpose? What's my passion? What's my purpose? What's my passion? Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking like that, I want you instead to ask yourself, what's
what could I do today that would energize me? What energizes me? If it's making money, figure out how to make money.
Right.
If it is making a difference, figure out how to make a difference. It could be in any single shape or form. But if it energizes you, that's what you need to follow. And what happens is that passion also, because it's energy, it dissipates over time. Because when you first start making money, it's fucking thrilling.
Yeah.
Thrilling. There is nothing more exhilarating than making your first million.
Yeah.
Nothing more exhilarating. Yeah. But what happens is once you learn how to do something once, you can do it over and over again. And so it starts to become routine, which means it's no longer energizing.
Right.
Which is why every entrepreneur out there goes through the mode of chasing the money, and then you hit the money that you need to make, and then you're like, I'm not fulfilled. What's my purpose? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I went through that.
I need to find the I did everybody does.
Yeah.
And it's because you were energized by the money, and now you're not.
Yeah.
Now you got to be energized by the next thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the term attention economy? If you haven't heard it, you're going to start hearing it a lot, because that's what we live in right now. It means that people and companies make money when they have your attention. And in the world of internet, technology, social media, your attention is for sale. And what I want to do in today's mentoring session is I want to shift your attitude about how you value your own attention. So, I've got a simple question for you. Do you use a phone or a computer to make money or to improve your life? Or does the phone use you to make money? Oh, look at this. I lifted it up and it started playing a video. Check it out. It's on Facebook right now. Every time you are on your laptop and you go onto a laptop and you start scrolling mindlessly through Facebook, someone else is making money. You ever thought about that? Like, I'm gonna just scroll through Facebook right now. Ooh, here's a post about yoga tights I don't need. Oh, and here's something from BuzzFeed about cute group photo of 23 baby pandas trying to make. You know who's making money right now? Whoever made this video. And so is BuzzFeed, and so is Facebook. But I'm not. They're making money off my attention. And as I keep scrolling, oh, here's somebody that's doing something related to the news. And here's another thing. Ooh, chocolate chip peanut butter cup lasagna cake. Am I making money? Am I improving my life by... No. But guess what? Tasty Video is, and so is Melissa's Southern Style Kitchen, who sponsored this post. So why am I pointing this out to you? I'm pointing it out to you because the engineers at Facebook, the engineers at every website, they understand something. They understand that the longer that you spend on their website or reading their emails or clicking their stuff, the more money they're going to make. See, you and I are up against a massive amount of technology and people that want to trick us into giving them our attention. There's a reason why Facebook has an algorithm where they put things in your news feed that you like. It's because research shows that you'll actually stay longer. And how does somebody make money in the attention economy? Well, they make it by grabbing your attention. So I want you to consider something. Today, I want you to be really mindful about your attention. I want you to be mindful about how you're using your phone and your computer. Are you using it to get ahead and to make more money and to do the things that are important to you? Or are they using you to make a buck? As you're going about your day, just notice. Am I picking up my phone to use it to improve my life or make my goals happen? Or am I picking up my phone and letting somebody else use me to make money? I was struggling with anxiety. I was ridiculously competitive, deeply insecure. Those three, that trifecta is deadly. So very toxic human being. And I think a lot of it was an outgrowth of an incident when I was in 4th grade and I was molested by another kid. And it was not as traumatic of an incident as a lot of people have survived, but what happened, as I look back, I now understand my full psychology, but one of my fundamental philosophies is that most of us are dealing with some kind of internal conflict that we have never resolved because something happened to us when we were little, and we did something to survive it,
And that survival mechanism, mine happened to be lying, but that survival mechanism worked when you were a kid. It worked to keep you safe.
Yep.
It worked to keep your abusive dad from not screaming at you. It worked to make people like you. But as you got older, you never updated that strategy.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people that we serve, that I work with, whether they are the CEO of a publicly traded company or they are a kid just graduating from high school or hoping to graduate from high school, the number one thing that most people are dealing with is they're dealing with unresolved internal conflicts about shit that happened when they were a kid. And what happened to me when I was a kid is I had this incident happen where I was abused by another kid. Again, not as like scary as what a lot of people deal with. And when I went downstairs in the morning after it happened, my mom was standing there and she turned to me and said, "Oh, hi, how did you sleep, honey?" And I saw out of the corner of my eye that the kid that had done it to me was sitting at the table. And I immediately said, "Fine." And that moment, right there, when I said fine, I made a decision not to say what happened because I didn't want her to get upset. I didn't want there to be a scene. I didn't want to get in trouble. I mean, this was like a fourth grader processing this.
Yeah.
It solidified a strategy that I used literally until I was in my mid-30s. And that strategy was, don't tell the truth. Assess and say whatever it is that is going to kind of calm the waters or make people happy. And so I became somebody that literally was driven by looking around and making sure everything was okay and not wanting to upset people. And I was very competitive and outgoing, but it was not the kind of competitive and outgoing that I am today that's grounded in confidence and that's grounded in my values. It was a competitiveness and an outgoingness that was based in insecurity.
If you're living in the past, you're going to be depressed because you are rehashing things that happened to you that are not going to happen again. If you're living in the future, you're going to be anxious because you are anticipating what's coming or you're wishing for things that aren't happening yet. Being in the present is where the gold is. Being in the present moment is where you will have the greatest control, where you will feel the most at ease, and where happiness flourishes. There's a super tight connection between happiness and the ability to live in the present moment. A lot of people believe that happiness is tied to the things that happen to you. Not so at all. In fact, there is a professor of positive psychology. He's one of the grandfathers of the movement. He teaches at the University of Pennsylvania. His name is Martin Seligman, and he's studied happiness for decades. Now, one of the things that we've talked about a lot is that 40% of your happiness levels are preset by genetics. 60% you are in complete control of. And one of the things that this professor has discovered is that it doesn't matter what's happened to you. In fact, some of the people that have had the worst things happen to them, like people that have survived the Holocaust, are actually the happiest and most grateful people in the world. Happiness comes down to this right up here. It comes down to your thoughts, it comes down to your mindset, it comes down to your attitude, and you are 100% control of what you're thinking. You may not be in control of how you feel in the moment, but you can always, 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 always be in control of what you think. And that will change how you're feeling. One of the most powerful things that you can do in terms of think, and this gets back to Strick's question, is how do you be present? Being present is literally nothing more than the skill of having your thoughts be in this moment, not in the past, not in the future, but right here. The way that you teach yourself how to do that is that the moment that you catch yourself being distracted, the moment you catch yourself starting to worry, the moment you catch yourself drifting to the future or drifting to the past, that's a moment of tremendous power because you basically just woke up. You basically just noticed that you're not here in this particular moment. So use that wake-up call, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and ground yourself in this moment. The best way to ground yourself in the moment is to look for something in this particular moment that you can savor. Now, I'm using the word savor on purpose because it's the word that psychologists use to describe what happens when you find something in this moment right now, right here, right now, to focus on and to appreciate.
It could be literally the questions. These are printed out questions from people on social media. And if I were to stop and look at these and savor them, what I would feel in this moment is a tremendous amount of gratitude because people are taking the time to write. And that makes me feel incredibly grateful. And it also makes me very happy because it means that the folks that are writing are taking control of their lives and seeking out the information that they need. Another form of savoring that we can all relate to is eating. As you're eating, instead of drifting to the future and thinking about all the things that you need to do or hanging out in the past and rehashing everything that's happened during the day, be in this moment, in this meal. Slow down. Think about the food that you're eating. Think about the people that you're sitting with and how you feel about them. And if you want to take it up a notch, actually acknowledge them. Hey, this food tastes amazing. Thank you for cooking. Or I'm so glad to see you and that we get the time to have this meal together. Those small, simple acts of savoring are how you expand your happiness inside the present moment. So, how do you be more present? Simple. The moment that you catch yourself in the future, in the past, worrying, whatever, refocus yourself right here, right now, and then find something right here, right now that you can savor. And when you do that, you're not only going to be present, you're going to feel more grateful, and you're going to feel a little boost of happiness. Vicki writes, I'm trying to become a fashion and beauty blogger and earn money from it full time, but I have some kind of mental block and procrastination problem. Something that we see over and over and over again. And it's this idea that you don't ever start. You stay trapped in your head. And if you feel paralyzed, if you've been spinning the same ideas over and over and over again, then you know what I'm talking about. You see, many of you are thinking way too fucking big. You're attaching way too much pressure on the things that you're interested in. Until you start blogging about fashion, you won't even know if you like it. So thinking that you have a dream about doing it and thinking that you have this grand plan that you're going to do it full time, it is a complete and utter waste of your time to be dreaming that big. And let me tell you why. Because oftentimes, if you're the kind of person like Vicki that's getting trapped up here, the bigness of what you're thinking about is what's stopping you. What I want you to do if you're in Vicki's situation is I want you to stop dreaming and I want you to just start doing small things. I want you to go back to curiosity and less into crushing your big goals. The thing about life and business and success is that you have to be willing to start. And for people that procrastinate, starting is the hardest part. For people that worry, for people that think too big, starting is the hardest part. Folks that study procrastination talk about the fact that the only way to beat procrastination is to create what they call a starting ritual, which is a way to push yourself to get started. Because all the research shows that if we can push you to get started on something, you'll likely keep going. If you expect to achieve your goals, if you expect to reach your potential, if you expect to have your dreams come true, what I'm about to explain to you is mission critical. You must become a master at visualization. Now, for those of you that are like, what the heck is she talking about? I did not sign up for some sort of meditation woo-woo spiritual thing here. Don't worry, this is Mel Robbins. There's always science and research involved in everything that I talk about. So visualization is an extraordinarily powerful skill. And you may have heard of the law of attraction. You may have heard of the word visualization. You may have heard of the word manifesting. I call it seeing signs. So I'm a master at seeing positive signs. I am a master of creating coincidences. I have the world's most incredible luck. You want to know why? Because I understand the science and the skill of visualization. I know that your brain, it is a gigantic detective machine. Your brain is a filter. Your brain is constantly looking for evidence. And that's good news. It's good news when you know how to use it to your advantage. Let me explain. So your brain has a system in it
here's the technical term. It's called the reticular activating system. It is a network of neurons all up in here. And what is the job of the reticular activating system? It is a filter system. It's basically a system that allows certain information in your brain, and it blocks out other information. And guess who programmed that filter? You did. And so did the people from your past. And so if you constantly feel like you're unlovable, guess what? Your reticular activating system is going through the day, and it is going to point out every single piece of evidence that confirms that negative belief that you have. If your goal is to improve your self-worth, I want you to visualize what your life looks like and how you're going to feel about yourself when your self-worth has improved. Here's how you're going to do it. So there's two things that you have to do when it comes to visualization. You have to close your eyes. Truly, I know it sounds stupid, but I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to, in your mind, have a specific picture of what it looks like in your life when your self-worth has improved. You're going to see yourself speaking up at work. You're going to see yourself talking more about your business. You're going to see yourself leaving bad relationships. You're going to see yourself defining boundaries. You're going to see yourself going to the gym. You're going to see yourself taking care of yourself. And when you start to visualize the image of that, I want you to consciously, this is step 2, consciously think of the positive emotions that you're going to feel. I'm going to feel happy. I'm going to feel proud. I'm going to stand taller. I'm going to be so grateful that I made this change. Marrying the specific picture. Oh, there I am. There I am. I'm at work and I'm raising my hand. Amazing. I'm sharing my idea. There I am. I'm getting a promotion. There I am asking for a raise. There I am. I've just signed up another customer to my business. There I am. I've gone back to school. I feel so good about myself. When you do that, here's what's actually happening in your brain. This is the cool science part. You are training your brain to have a totally different filter. You see, your brain, my brain, it doesn't know the difference between something that actually happened to you, like the F you got in your test in 10th grade, and the things you imagine that are happening to you. Let me say that again. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the bad things that actually happened to you, the real memories that you have, and an imagined memory that you're creating. Your brain will experience you visualizing going to the gym, you visualizing how happy you feel when you do, you visualizing asking for that raise and getting it and how proud you're going to feel. Your brain, when you visualize in the way that I'm teaching you to, it encodes it as a real memory. And that's important because when you encode it as a real memory, it changes the filter system, that reticular activating system. And here's what we know based on research. The more you visualize things, number one, the greater your confidence is going to be, the greater security you're going to have about it. And here's the really cool thing. The more you do this with your goals, you wake up every day and you just visualize, it takes 30 freaking seconds for crying out loud. You visualize having a great day at school. You visualize curing your panic and how proud you're going to be. What studies suggest and have proven is that simply visualizing yourself doing things actually develops the skill and helps you improve the skills. I always think about business as levels, right? And I also realize that as the media landscape or the particular vertical or industry that you're building a business in is changing, that is a constant, and it's something that you can't control, right? You just cannot control the things that are happening in the world around us, but you can always control what you're thinking and what you're doing in response to it.
So all of my work centers inside this gap between what's happening in your life and in your work and what your reaction is to it, and how you can't control the things that are going on around you, but you can always control what your reaction is. And that gap there, that's about 5 seconds long. And you start to understand that you can change how you think, you can change your habits, you can change how you lead, you can pivot and change even the philosophy of your company. And you can do it through the decisions that you're making and managing your reactions. You will become unstoppable. So 3.5 years ago, I got into the speaking business because of the popularity of that TEDx talk that I gave. And that first year I did, I don't know, I think it was like 27 speeches. The next year I did 87. Last year I did 121. I was the most booked female speaker in the world. This year I've capped it at 80, and here's why. I realized, just like you may be realizing in your business, whatever your business is, that there are aspects of your business that you love and that energize you, and there are aspects of your business that are depleting as hell and that are old and that are tired, and that if you continue in that lane, you're going to end up 10 years from now in a place that you don't want to be. It's so important for you to pay attention to what's energizing you about the landscape around you and about your own business, because that's the secret to seeing around corners. And so the corner that I was seeing around is that as an entrepreneur, even though it's wildly lucrative to do what I do just on the speaking platform, I mean, anybody can do the math on 121 speeches, right? And the amount of money that I get paid to show up and deliver a 1-hour talk, and realize there's a lot of money. Here's the problem. It's a terrible business because you can't scale it other than raising your price or raising the number of times you do it. And guess what else? You have to show up. And I can't sell it. So I found myself in a situation where I had built a multi-million-dollar business, highly profitable, and it was depleting the hell out of me, and I can't really scale it, and I can't sell it. Terrible position to be in an entrepreneur. So I made a decision that what was it, Bo, that actually energizes me about my business? And I answered it with the first question. It's hearing from people. I would rather answer comments on Instagram all day long than stand in a stadium with 5,000 people in it. I get more from the one-to-one connection. That's what fuels me. And so I had this light bulb moment, paying attention, being clear that, wait a minute, I don't want to build the biggest speaking platform, and I don't want to build a coaching business. I want to build a content company. I want to go back to my roots and build a media company. And so with that insight, I now have to change, right? Because the kind of businesswoman that runs a multi-million-dollar speaking business where it's just you and your speaking management firm and your travel folks and your logistics people and maybe your social media manager. That's who's on the team. The kind of leader that runs that kind of team is very different than the kind of leader that is going to grow a $100 million media company that's going to syndicate content every single day, that is going to own what she's doing, that's going to build Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn as my personal ABC, CNBC, Fox. And this is what I want you to understand about the story. And that is this. In order to get to the next level in your business, you got to decide right now, what habits do you have as a leader that you have to change now? Because you will not see around the corner. You will not engineer that next quantum leap unless you personally change. And so one of the reasons why I've gone from being the most successful female, book speaker on the speaking circuit to launching the #1 book on all of the self-publishing platform for Amazon and one of the most read books in the world and selling like gangbusters still, is because I am constantly innovating myself. I know that I am the single biggest problem in my company. And if I don't constantly pivot and evolve how I lead and what I'm focused on, I'm going to be the blockade. And so, stop looking at what everybody else is doing, stop micromanaging the team, and ask yourself, 2 years from now, when you think about where you want your company to be, What habit do you have to change right now?
We spend a lot of time talking about mindset from the standpoint of think positive so positive things happen. And I do believe in having a positive mindset, obviously. I think that the actions that you take are way more important in terms of developing that mindset. But we don't spend enough time on what you were just talking about, which is understanding how the automatic nature of worrying about stuff all day long, how that is making you less money, how it is making you less happy, how it is disconnecting you from your spouse, how it is keeping you unhealthy, and how it is a habit that robs you of joy and opportunity and power. And it is one of the easiest habits to break. Your life happens in 5-second windows. Number 2, in 5 seconds, you can control what you think, you can decide what you're going to do, and you can change absolutely anything, which changes absolutely everything. And so the 5-second rule is a mind trick. That's all that it is. A fancy way to call it is it's a form of metacognition. But it's basically a hack. It's a cheat code.
Okay.
And the way that it works, and this is the challenge with getting it out there, is that it sounds so profoundly stupid, like a gimmick, that it took a while for people to actually take it seriously.
I get that.
And to really stack up the science to make, anybody that interacts with it go, holy shit, like this actually works.
Yeah.
So here's what it is. Basically, the moment you catch yourself hesitating or doubting or starting to worry or about to chicken out or shrink or shut up or whatever it is that you're about to do that is shrinking your power, you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What happens when you do that? Don't do it out loud because it'll scare somebody, like a psycho. And I mean, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm talking. Yes, exactly. No.
My turn.
Yes, exactly. Although I say it's so simple that people
This
use
is
it
a
with their
Saturday Night
kids.
Live skit in the making, right?
Totally.
I can see this.
I would love that because that means I've really made it.
True.
Your kids will use it on you. So my kids will use it on me. So if I have a certain tone that comes out, I'll hear my 12-year-old go, 5, 4, 3, watch that tone, Mom, or Mom, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I thought you were going to go to the gym. Yes. So by counting backwards, the kind of cheat code that you're doing in your mind is you are interrupting what are called habit loops that get encoded in the central part of your brain, and you are starting up the prefrontal cortex. It's a little trick that causes focus, and it's a lot like having a mantra because you're shifting gears. But the thing about having a mantra is, and I suppose that as you count backwards more and more and more, you become used to it, but it becomes a habit that triggers action. So what you do is you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cut off this part of the brain, awaken this part of the brain, and then move. And what happens with the counting backwards is there's nowhere to go after 1. And your mind is socialized in a countdown situation to go.
Yep.
And so counting up won't work because you can keep
go
going.
forever.
And you do it in many aspects of your life, so it's actually not something that requires any focus. So we've been getting a ton of questions about being paralyzed with the fear of what other people think. And this is so commonplace. I think every human being on the planet is paralyzed in some aspect or some area of their life because they're concerned about what their parents or what their friends or what their friends on Facebook or what their colleagues or what their upline or their downline or whatever, what their neighbors are going to think. If you are struggling with this and you have not found it helpful to attack your thinking patterns, then here's a trick that I want you to try to break the pattern of being paralyzed by what other people think. I want you to pick one thing that you've been wanting to do, that you've been thinking about, but you have stopped yourself from doing because you're concerned about what other people think. Let me give you some examples. Maybe you've wanted to go on a wellness retreat.
but you think your spouse will roll their eyes at you, so you haven't done it. Maybe you have a particular Facebook post or a blog. So many of you want to start a business or start creating art, but you're terrified of putting yourself out there because of what other people will think. Today, we're going to break that pattern. What you're going to do is you're going to pick one thing you've been stopping yourself from doing, and you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And the reason why I want you to do this is because I know that if you're still paralyzed, you have not been able to change your thinking patterns yet. That's cool. No problem. We're going to try a different tactic. I want you to change this paralysis through action. Because if you sign up for that class, if you go on that retreat, if you create your art, if you post that blog post, if you start that business, you will be proving to yourself through the actions that you're taking that you don't care what other people think. Try that today. Let me know, number one, what you've stopped yourself from doing, and number two, what you're committing to doing today. Because one way to break this is to attack the thoughts and change the thoughts and get into action first. The other way to do it is to recognize that you're paralyzed, pick one thing that you're going to do, and actually get it done.
Okay, great. So here's what you're going to do. It's actually simple, but it's not going to be easy because you're going to create all kinds of excuses and drama for yourself, okay? You're going to set your alarm for 7. And when the alarm goes off, that's what happened. That gap is going to open up and you're going to feel all the roll in. I don't feel like it. I'm over. I don't want to. I don't feel like writing a song anyway. You know, like that's when you have to take control. You have to take control. You have to get up every morning. It begins by getting up, because if you let anxiety, excuses, self-doubt, all the win in that first decision, the rest of the day is hijacked. So win the first decision. Then exercise. I don't care about the eating as much. I know it's important not to put garbage in, but I would rather see you first master getting up on time. Do that for a week. Then let's add in exercise every day. 10 minutes. Don't start with like 2 hours, because then you're going to find an excuse not to do it. Get up at 7, exercise for 10 minutes. Then the third week, you're going to add in like, I'm actually going to eat clean this week, or whatever the diet is that you want to eat, right? You're just going to add in things as you master the little things, but you got to get up on time.
Do it anyway is a mindset trick that you can use when you start to feel excuses rolling up. It works a lot like the 5-second rule. So you have said to yourself, okay, I'm going to talk to my boss today about that thing that I've been avoiding talking to them about. Or maybe you've said something like, I'm going to go to the gym today or tomorrow or whatever. And then the moment comes where you've got to have that conversation. Or the moment comes where it's time to pack up your bag and leave your desk and go to the gym. And what always happens? You don't feel like it. I bet there are plenty of you watching that have made a commitment that, I'm not going to have a drink tonight. And then guess what happens when you get home? You don't feel like not drinking. You feel like having a drink. And so here's what do it anyway has done for me. The idea that I just do it anyway has pushed me to realize and to recognize that there are a lot of moments where there are things in my life that I really want to do, I need to do, I should do, but when the moment comes, I don't feel like it. And so I pull out this idea of, you know what, I'm just going to do it anyway. It's raining outside. I said I would go for a short run. I don't feel like it. I'm going to do it anyway. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. It's cold. I laid out my yoga clothes, but now I don't feel like it. What do? I do it anyway. When you start to say to yourself, I'm going to do it anyway, what happens is something really cool. You acknowledge that there are feelings that you have that are trying to swoop in and hijack you. You acknowledge them and you basically say, guess what? I'm going to do it anyway. Oakley is chomping at the bit that that we asked this question. What is the question?
All right, so
is it on topic?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
It's from Ben S. Snack. How can I make a huge life decision, such as a job change, move to another state? I want the job, but I'm scared.
Oh, I love that. So the question is, great question, Oakley, and great question, Ben S. Snack. So how do you make a big decision, right? So it's a decision that sounds like he's going to accept a new job, but it requires him to move to another state. And notice what he said. I want it, but I'm afraid. This is the perfect question for right now because you would actually use do it anyway. You see, the thing about the way to make decisions, this is my decision-making tool. I don't think we haven't covered it yet in this, but for those of you that have followed me for a while,
you know that I have this decision-making tool. In fact, we talked about it in the journaling method. So in the journaling method, if you go back to videos 9, 10, and 11, and if you look at the journaling method that we talked to you about, and look, I want to tell you something. I'm not asking you to buy this. In fact, please don't buy the 5-second journal. We don't have any more in stock. They're sold out around the globe. We'll print more. Do not buy this. I'm not doing this training to ask you to buy anything. I'm showing you this because for those of you that don't have the journaling method in front of you, if you go to 5secondjournal.com, 5secondjournal.com, if you go to 5secondjournal.com, what you will find is a ton of free templates that will show you the journaling method for free. You don't ever have to buy that. I'm telling you not to buy it. I want to be very clear. The reason why we're doing these trainings is not to get you to buy something, okay? It's to help you learn how to reset your mind. So back to the question. The opening thing in the journal. Do I have one that's open here? Because then I can, I'll just open this one. The opening thing in the journal is a fuel gauge that has you tune in, and this is going to get to decision making, that has you tune in to how you're feeling energy-wise every morning. And so let me show you what that looks like in case you haven't seen those videos yet. So you see this little fuel gauge right here. Oh, can you see it on Instagram, Oak? Am I holding it up?
Yeah, just like not that one. Yeah, there you go. Now
Okay,
you can see it really
there you go. So that fuel gauge is a visual cue to have you tune into your energy and to assess whether or not you are depleted and empty about something and heavy, or the other extreme is energized, full, expanded, open to possibility. And the reason why I ask you to do that first thing in the morning to assess your mood, to assess your energy, to tune in, is because there's established research that says that your mood in your morning impacts your productivity and focus all day long. And so if you can boost your mood in the morning, it has a material impact on your focus and on your productivity all day. And so we use it in the morning in the journaling method that I've taught you in videos 9 through 11. But when it comes to decisions, I want you to do the exact same thing. I get that you're scared. It's a change. I would be kind of surprised if you weren't a little nervous about doing something awesome, like moving to a new state and starting a new job and all the possibilities that come in with it. So if you're trying to make a decision, do I do this thing that's scary or not? What you do is tune inward and really assess, how do you feel about it? When you think about yourself living in this new place and having this new job and all the possibility and growth that comes with it, do you feel dead and depleted and stuck? Or do you feel energized and alive and full of possibility? You see, if the decision is something that will expand your future, that will create possibility, that will make you grow, then it is 1,000% something that you must do. And you must do it even though you're afraid. And the fear is a very normal thing. And the fear is there because you're about to do something new. But do not use the fear to talk yourself out of making a decision that actually is grounded in growth and possibility and energizing you. So that's how I make decisions, using the stuff that you're learning in the Mindset Reset. And again, you can go back to the journaling method on videos 9, 10, and 11. But if you have a big decision to make and you notice that you're afraid, or you notice that you're stuck up here, go in and ask yourself, does the decision deplete me, make me stuck, make me feel dead, make me feel heavy? Or does the decision, even though it scares me, even though it's hard, is there something about it that expands possibility and opens up my life and will give me an opportunity to grow? If you're in this camp, the answer is heck yes. If you're in the dead camp and the hell no, heck no, okay? All right, cool. Let me give you a shout out real quick, because the do it anyway thing, I do it every morning. Because here's the deal about me, you guys. I hate exercising. I hate it.
Yeah, you do.
I do. I hate it. But I should say it this way. I hate going. I hate getting dressed for it. I hate driving there. but I love how I feel when I've done it. I love it. And so do it anyway has helped me get through the front resistance, the part that I hate. And it helps me get there. And once I'm there, I absolutely don't necessarily love the exercise, but when I'm done, I love how I feel. And so that's how I use Do It Anyway, okay? Every day I use Do It Anyway because it works so powerfully for me to push my excuses aside and to actually take care of my body, which is a very important thing in terms of my commitment, in terms of my desire to really enjoy my life fully. But I never, ever, ever, I'm never the kind of person that wakes up and goes, yeah, let's go exercise. I'm never the kind of person that is driving there going, I'm so excited to do this. I'm never the kind of person walking in that's even like, yes, I'm so glad I made it. I dread it usually all the way through it. Sometimes I half enjoy it while I'm there, but mostly I dread it. But by the time it's over, I frigging love the fact that I went, and that's why I do it. I cannot wait to bring on fitness coach Peter, who is losing his motivation over in Ireland. So let's see what he has to say right now.
Hello there, Mel, team, and the phenomenal community. I'll stay connected. My name is Peter, and I'm dialing in from the Republic of Ireland. And I've got this question based on today's live stream topic, positivity. I'm a fitness coach, and I feel like I've been inspiring, motivating, teaching how to deal with different obstacles, my clients, my family. But on most days, especially now, I am feeling I'm losing the ground under my own feet, and I'm struggling with finding that constant flow of positivity. So my question is, how can I find that balance within my own? So thanks very much for everything you do. Stay blessed, stay well. Thank you again.
All right. So there were a couple things about the question. First of all, Peter, thank you so much for sending your question all the way from Ireland. And you said a couple things that jumped out at you. You are losing the ground underneath you, and you are seeking advice about how to stay motivated consistently. So here's what I want to do. I want to put this in the language that you as a fitness coach will certainly appreciate, but you watching, this is for you too. You're training for this moment. And Peter in particular, somebody who has been motivating people, who has been training people to be physically fit. You have been training for this moment your entire life. And you got to view this moment like a test. And what is the test testing? It's testing who you are. That's part of the race right now, how you show up for it, right? It's not a matter of how you finish it. It's how you show up for it and what you do while you're running it, the kind of racer that you are. And look, I get it. This is a very difficult race that we're all running because we don't know where the finish line is. And it is very, very hard to stay motivated, which is the advice that you're seeking, Peter, when you don't even know when this damn thing is ending. This is the part of the race. I've run 4 marathons. Don't everybody gasp. I mean, it was nothing to brag about. I mean, I finished them, which is something to brag about, but it's not like I won the damn thing. But this is the point in time when you're running a race, when you said you're losing ground. What that means is you're starting to slow down. You feel your legs getting heavier. You feel your breath getting a little bit more shallow. You start to wonder, oh shit, why did I sign up for this thing in the first place? You start to wonder if you are going to make it. And so here's what I'm going to tell you, Peter. When you are coaching your clients and your clients start to lose ground, when you are coaching your clients and your clients don't feel motivated and they feel tired and they feel like giving up and they don't want to do another set of burpees, what do you tell them? You tell them to dig deeper. You tell them to find the strength within them to keep going. You see, what you need right now is you need to start building the motivation of your mind, because motivation doesn't exist in your body. It comes from up here. And what I hear is that you now have an opportunity. This is what the test is, Peter, to train harder, because you are capable of so much more. This is handing you a moment where you get to become an even stronger and more capable version of yourself. Now, does that mean that you're going to be motivated all day long, every single day that you wake up? No. But it means you've got to have the mental fitness right now to continue to get up, to show up, and to dig deeper when it comes to your mindset, when it comes to your attitude, when it comes to your just knowing that you are going to get through this. And so this moment, everybody, it's telling you who you are. It's telling you whether or not you're the kind of person that shows up to a challenge and you're pissed off, or you're sad, or you feel depressed, or you feel despair, or you feel all of these things that start to take you down the drain of negativity. And what I'm here to tell you is that you are built for this moment. You may not feel like it. You may feel sad. Those are all normal feelings. You may feel negative. It's very easy to do. You may start to feel a little bit of despair. That's going to come and go. But this is where the test of this race that we're currently running lies. When those feelings rise up and you start losing ground and you start feeling like you're not going to make it to the finish line and you start feeling unmotivated, can you dig deeper and remind yourself that you were built for this moment? Because one of the things that I know is that when the shit is hitting the fan, I guarantee you there are people in your life that are looking to you. There are people in your life, whether it's clients or colleagues or family members, that are looking to you right now. You know what that tells me? That you're the kind of person that people rely on. And now is the moment in time in the race that we're all running where you got to teach yourself to rely on yourself. How do you do that? How do you build the muscle of the mind? It's very simple. Very simple. I didn't say easy. I said simple. The steps are very simple. To win this race and to build strength in this muscle right up here, you got to focus on the shit you can control. And that is what you do with your body and what you do with your mind. And the one thing that has made a huge difference in me, because you can see that I am showing up as a very different Mel Robbins than I've been the last couple of weeks. The last couple of weeks, I have been losing the race. I've been going up and down. I've been doing my best to stay positive, but I am now back in the race. I have now found my ground and found my footing. And it comes in focusing on what you can control. And you know what you can control? There's only one thing. It's what are you doing to make this day the best day that you can do? What are you doing to master this day today? Fuck tomorrow. Forget about next week. Forget about what's happening this summer. This is a race that will be won by those of you who are the ability to focus on today and making today amazing. And so you know what I did today? Today, I did something I haven't done since the beginning of this quarantine. I got up an hour earlier than I normally do. Why? Well, because I noticed that throughout my day, I was feeling behind. Throughout my day, even though I was waking up, even though I have a morning routine, even though I was getting stuff done, I felt, even though I was doing all those things, somehow behind. And I realized that in order to master my day, in order to be fully in control of what I'm going to do today, I got to make sure that when my ass hits this chair at 9 a.m. and my workday starts, I have fully taken control of everything that puts my body and my mind first. And when I was honest with myself about why I was losing ground and why I wasn't feeling motivated and why I was starting to feel my own energy cycle down, it was because I was not taking the time in the morning to give myself the mental prep and training and the physical prep and training so that I could make this day, today, April 14th, with everything that I got. And so that's what you need to do. And that's what, Peter, you need to do too over there in Ireland. You need to remind yourself of who you are. You are a person who has been training for this moment your entire life. This is a race where you do not see the finish line, which means you have got to focus on today. You have got to focus on what you can control. And the only thing we can control is what our body is doing today and what we allow our minds to focus on. So the second your mind starts to go down that drain of, oh my God, what's going to happen? And this fall, and when's it going to end? And blah, 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 do. And you feel yourself losing motivation and losing ground. We are done mourning this situation. We are done feeling sad about this situation. How about we give ourselves a collective bitch slap? We dig a little bit deeper and we show up for this situation. What else are you going to do? Feel sorry for yourself? Lick your wounds? It's so much better when you decide to dig deep and you decide to show up. That's what I'm going to do. Some days it's going to be harder than others, but that's the whole point of getting stronger. Reminding yourself that you are capable of so much more. And all of the emotions that you're feeling and all of the excuses that you're feeling, it's all normal, but it's a choice as to whether or not you listen to them. So, Peter, keep me posted on how you're doing. And for you watching this, I hope that this gives you the kick in the ass that you need to shake that negativity loose and to rise to this moment and start working on the things that you can control, your mind and your body. And in case nobody else tells you today, I'm going to tell you, I love you. I believe in you. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care how sad you are. I don't care how overwhelmed you are. Get your shit together, because this is the new reality. And you can make today a better day by focusing on what you can control. And I'm going to be here every day, annoying, as positive as I can be, to push you to remember that. And if you're wondering, how the hell do I get on this and get this motivation from Mel and ask her a question and get the tough love that I need and seize the opportunity in this moment, just text your question. See the phone number below? That is our texting community. Get yourself on it. Ask a question. When you text it, there will be something that comes back to you. You got to reply in order to opt in. Ask the question. That way my team can reach out to you. You could find yourself on a future video. How about that? All right. You go have a great day and dig a little deeper today. Here's what I do specifically to help myself stay focused. First things first, when I wake up in the morning, I do not sleep next to my phone. The reason why I don't sleep next to my phone is because if you sleep next to it or use it as your alarm, your tendency is to look at it while you're in bed. That means that you're checking email before you've even thought about what your priorities are. Do not do that. That's tip number one. Tip number two, I have a pad of Post-it notes. Yes, Post-it notes next to my sink in my bathroom. Why? Well, because after I brush my teeth, haven't looked at my phone yet, I take a Post-it note out and I write the 3 things I need to focus on today. And then you know what I do with it? I stick it on the back of my phone. Now, why would I do that? Because I have my phone with me all the time. And so if it's on the back of my phone, I'm going to get a visual cue to remind me and keep it top of mind so I stay focused on it. Third thing that I do, it's a little trick I call 30 before 7:30. What that means, I spend 30 minutes before 7:30 a.m. just focused on getting my day organized and getting a few of the things that are my top priorities either finished or further down the field. So that's 30 minutes before 7:30 a.m. That's time for me. If you utilize those 3 things, don't sleep with your phone. Right after you brush your teeth, write out your 3 priorities and stick it on the back of your phone just like this, and spend 30 minutes before 7:30 for yourself. I promise you, you'll be shocked at how much more focused you are and you feel.
What about when someone can't realize or identify their own negative feelings? someone that has been conditioned to live in negative feelings and believes that that's normal? This question comes from Basso Anna Denegada.
It is your normal. You're right. It's a really, first of all, I'm sorry that that's been your experience of life, because that really stinks, and it doesn't have to be that way. But here's where I want you to go. What's interesting about what you said is the fact that these feelings are normal, okay? Normal just means you're used to them, but you don't have to live with them. So even though you're so used to these negative feelings and these feelings of doubt, you still don't like them. You still have the ability to stop that. So I want you to think of a moment in time when you were really happy. Like, it could be a memory from being little, it could be something that you dream of doing. And I want you to come up with something really specific about that moment, okay? Like, think about what you were wearing, or think about the blue sky. That is going to be what I call your anchor thought. Every time from this moment forward that you wake up or you find yourself drifting to those normal feelings of, I'm a loser, I'm worthless, I'm never going to find love. They may be things that you're used to thinking, but that doesn't matter, because you can change them. The second that you feel that, you've drifted over into that thought, and I keep coming over here because when you start using the rule, you're going to start to literally feel which part of your mind you're using. The worries kind of happen here. I want you to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I want you to insert this vision of yourself. This vision of yourself where you felt really good. And if you can't think of one, invent one. How would you feel if you were in love? How would you feel if you loved yourself? How would you feel if you did that thing that you're scared of, that you keep talking yourself out of? That's your anchor thought. Now, when you first start using the rule, particularly when you're breaking a habit of thinking negative thoughts, when you first start doing it, you may need to use the 5-second rule 73 times in one day. That's okay. I had to do it like that when I was first using the rule to cure myself of anxiety. When I would start to worry about anything, I'd start to worry about, my kids, or I'd start to worry about money, and I'd feel my thoughts drift, and then I'd start to feel my heart race. I would stabilize my thoughts, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'd activate my prefrontal cortex, lower the worries, on the other side, and then I would start to think about something that actually made me feel really calm or excited. That is the battle of your mind. And, the other thing about normal that I just want to say is that the reason why it feels normal to doubt yourself and to have low self-worth is because you've thought this so long. It's become a pattern. Just like chewing your nails becomes a pattern of behavior that you don't think about. Well, the cool thing is that based on science, you can actually change any pattern, even a thinking one. So use the 5-second rule. Every single time you catch yourself thinking the nasty stuff, and then activate your prefrontal cortex and force yourself to think something positive.
I'm about to change your life, because this piece of research changed mine. Procrastination has nothing to do with work. The people that write to us the most that struggle with procrastinating: PhD students, engineers, entrepreneurs, people that have a lot on their plate, that have a lot of things that they need to juggle, and that are analytical and thinkers by nature. Procrastination is a form of stress relief. What are you stressed about?
I want to get out of this business of real estate. I want to retire in the next 5 years, and I can't because I have not saved up. I have not gotten the money that I need to do that.
Bingo, and it makes you upset, doesn't it? Yeah. How many of you can relate to that? She said that what's stressing her out is she wants to retire. She hasn't saved up enough money. What's really stressing you out is finances and money and the fear that you have. What happens when you struggle with procrastinating, and thank you for being so honest, there's that stresses you out. Maybe you feel the same way. I mean, we felt that way. I know exactly what you're talking about. You carry around this dark cloud because you don't think you're gonna make it, and you're stressed about money all the time. Or maybe your mom's health is declining, and that really stresses you out. Or maybe your best friends are going through a divorce, or you're going through a divorce, and that really stresses you out. And so you walk around with this big ass thing on your shoulders all the time. And then you walk into work, and you sit down, and you've got a list of phone calls to make, which requires your prefrontal cortex. And your prefrontal cortex looks at the list and is like, oh my God, you want me to make 15 phone calls? I've been worried about the money all day. Can we just look at cat videos? I need a break. And next thing you know, 2 hours is gone. You've been online shopping, you've been looking at cat videos, and then of course you look at the 15 phone calls, you're like, I didn't make them. The research on procrastination is undeniable. It's black and white. Number one, all of you that procrastinate, procrastination's not the issue, it's stress. You're procrastinating to give yourself a little break at work. It's sort of like taking a smoking break almost, you know? You're just taking a break. So number one, because you're all stressed out and procrastinators are very hard on yourselves, this is gonna sound super stupid, but you gotta forgive yourself. You have got to actually have a talk with yourself where you feel yourself starting to procrastinate, you go, look, I know I really screwed up. I know I'm in a mess financially. I forgive myself. I'm just gonna do the best that I can. So you have to address the thing that's underneath it. So that self-awareness of knowing, oh my God, here's that stress again about finances screwing me over and preventing me from doing the small things that will actually fix my finances. Second thing that you're gonna do, procrastination's a habit, right? You get triggered by stress, the habit is to procrastinate. So when you get triggered by stress, your new habit is, oh, there's my stress again. I'm gonna actually tell myself, okay, you've done the best you can. It's okay, we're gonna do a little bit today. You're gonna create what we call starting ritual. A starting ritual is something that pushes you to start. The best one on the planet, the 5-second rule. So you've said, okay, there's my stress again. I forgive myself. Now we're gonna 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to only work for 5 minutes. That's it, 5 minutes. Make phone calls for 5 minutes. Here's what we know based on the research. 80% of you will keep going. The trick is starting. You see, I want to break the connection between the trigger, which is stress, and the response, which is procrastination. And whenever you feel stress, which is normal, you have a choice. Here's that gap. In 5 seconds flat, the habit of procrastinating and beating yourself up will take over. Or you can close the gap, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you can make a different choice. I'm just gonna get started. I'm just gonna be okay with where I'm at, and I'm just gonna get started. Got it?
Everything that I have done since we launched the 5-second rule book was in reaction to things that were coming to me. So I never sat out and said, hey, the 5-second rule audiobook has been a complete record breaker. We clearly have an audio audience. Let's go pitch Audible. Right. Audible came to me, which is fantastic. I always dreamt about having a talk show, but I wasn't out pitching one. Sony came to me. In fact, the only reason why we got into courses, online courses, and we now have more than 500,000 people that have taken our courses online, was because Success Magazine came to me and said, let's do a course together.
I remember, I was there interviewing you for it.
I hated it. Because what I discovered is I hate being told what to do. And so, but that gave me the idea, we should do courses ourselves. And so this pause has made me stop and go, well, what do I really want to do? And the truth is, I want to go and make the biggest possible impact that I can. Mm-hmm. And I want to collaborate with more people. Yeah. And I want to do events. And I don't want to be the CEO. I'm a terrible leader, horrible leader, the worst actually, because I'm amazing at coaching. I'm amazing at creating. I'm amazing at reacting. I'm terrible at managing people. I am terrible at managing a project. I have ADD. I have dyslexia. I'm a bulldozer when I get anxious. Mm-hmm. I hate similar it when people. I know we are. That's why we'd kill each other if we were roommates or business partners. But I think understanding yourself is really important. And so there's a couple things that I've decided. Number one, I'm going to consciously create the next chapter.
And what is that?
And I'm still in the middle of doing it.
Yeah. But you want to do events, you want to do these things you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to collaborate more with a wider audience of people. Mm-hmm. And I want to build a brand bigger than Mel Robbins.
Yep.
I don't want it to just be me. I want to build a platform-based business that reaches more people. Because here's the thing that got me through kind of the loss of the talk show and the way that I think about things, that I hope helps if you're listening and you're kind of struggling with something.
I believe, and I went into the talk show saying this to myself because there's a 99% chance based on the history of people that have tried to have a daytime talk show that it was going to fail. And I went in there saying, I'm not doing this because I expect to have a successful talk show. I'm going to put 1,000% into it so that I have no regrets and I wouldn't change a thing. But I'm going into this because I know that there is a skill, a person, or an experience I am meant to have that will help me for the next chapter that I can't see coming. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.